Best prison fight ever seen. Without a doubt, I was down in Goulburn in 1988, and it was between two Fijian guys, just athletes, 110, 15 kilos, fucking not a fucking pinch of fat on them. One was a bit older, one was a bloke called Tom Ingerville, and the younger one was a bloke called Peter Ruhr. And mate, this was as good as any fucking world title fight I've ever seen. And you know, people talk about fights going for 5 minutes. That's a long time in like basically a street fight, but this wasn't like a street fight. This was like fucking world title boxing fight, and punches were big, no gloves, no mouth guards, no headgear, just two blokes, supreme athletes just going hammer and tong at it. The closest thing I've ever seen to a heavyweight world title fight, and they give it to each other. Tom Ingerville was a bit older than Peter Ruhr, and Peter Ruhr had, I guess, you know, had youth on his side, and he dropped Tom Ingerville a few times, and it was respecting his elders, and he let him get back up, and he kept on saying he had enough, and Tom Ingerville was just like an old ball, you know, just an old warhouse. He said, I'll never have enough. Kept going. Screws even stood back and watched it. I reckon in total that fight went for about 8 minutes, and they'd stop, have a bit of water, and off they'd go again, hammer and tong. You know, in like a street fight, you won't see too many people throw body shots, but they'll smashing each other to the ribs, fucking smashing each other, and one would get dropped, bang, stand back, no kicking them in the head, no jumping on the head or anything like that, and it was bang. You know, respect was shown, let them get back up, and off they go again, you know. This was before, you know, today he's in prison today, nothing's done with, you know, there's not much fighting goes on, it's all done with knives and weapons and that sort of stuff, which is something that I'd ever subscribe to. But anyway, I'm told that's the way to go these days. But that was just, you know, the Screws were, you know, stood back and watched it, and fucking, and at the end of it, they fucking shook hands, like fucking gentlemen, shook hands, fucking, and you know, and paid each other maximum respect, and walked away. And, you know, a couple of days later, they were best mates again. And, and today, you know, I went back to jail about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago. And today there's old Screws, and that'll talk about the Screws and other crims and everything, that'll talk about this legendary fight with these two fucking warriors, Tom Ingerville and Peter Ruhr. Yeah, that was the best one I ever seen, you know, and I'm sure everyone's got their own version of it, or street fight or whatever, but that was a fucking amazing. But once again, I don't promote violence.